Hello, thanks for joining us today for a very exciting episode of Mind TV with Evan and Tatiana. Now, we're looking forward to our guest today because it is Ryan Burke, who is the mind behind the graphic novel Coronary. In Coronary, plastic surgery is free. Brave New World meets James Bond in a neo-noir comic series written by Ryan Burke. Let's hear more from the creator, Ryan Burke himself. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey, nice. Thank you for having me. Never had my name spoken so often. It's nice.
We'll be your hype man for today.
So in the left corner, we have Ryan, the writer Burke.
Versus some other... That would be the most disappointing fight ever. Two comic writers just like...
They're just drawing out boxes of their next actions. Yeah.
Ooh,
Figuring out
actually, I think I would watch that.
Maybe like a comic off, comic book off, a graphic novel off. I like it.
Oh, I like that. I think we're onto something here.
Ryan's like, now who would be my competitor? Who would be my competition here?
Why are we even doing this?
Let's just jump right into it.
So now, Ryan, what is your background with graphic novels, comic books? Have you created or written any in the past?
This is my kind of first big foray into it, which is pretty cool. I did a lot of writing in the past, like scripts, short stories and things. And then I got this idea for this massive, big graphic novel series. All right, I'll do this. And this is my first kind of plunge into this world. It's really interesting. It's really cool because you learn a different way of writing that doesn't quite work with everything else.
I remember when I read my first comic book, it felt a little bit like I was watching a play and a movie at the same time, but also reading a book.
Yeah, it's a weird kind of like, this is slightly cinematic, but also kind of, I don't know, you get time to kind of dwell over stuff you don't quite get in films, which is cool.
It's interesting too, because I would imagine that especially when you're writing this out, there's so much of it that's being told visually rather than just in the dialogue. You don't have as much dialogue as, let's say, like a novel or something like that. And so to be able to try to communicate that all as well, all these ideas that you have in your head and all these visuals that you have in your head and try to get it through with the artists just seems like amazing work to try to then work with them and try to get this fusion together of both the visual with what's being said into something that just really grabs onto someone.
Yeah, that is kind of one of the primary challenges of comics in itself, because like artists kind of grow up with all the big, artists like Monet, Van Gogh, whatever, like these big, huge ones, and I kind of grow up with big detective stories, like old school, like pulp novels and stuff, and we've got to try to make them like communicate with each other and make something that's kind of got aspects of both, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty interesting just to kind of come up with something new that has all these different influences in it. It's really awesome.
That's cool.
I can definitely see a detective looking at Picasso's work and trying to figure out some of that stuff. What was he trying to do right here?
It's like Sherlock Holmes meets Picasso. That seems like a very interesting melding. I would love to sit in on that conversation,
Yeah, actually, a really tiny side note. There's an artist that I saw on Instagram recently that turned like Disney princesses into noir kind of visuals, and it's epic. I'll actually potentially have to share that with everyone. It's pretty intense. So yeah, that neo-noir sort of feeling is definitely making a comeback as well, I feel like, in our everyday.
Oh yeah. Well, in talking about like the neo-noir style, and your concepts and your influences as well. You're talking about like these mystery novels, these detective novels. I mean, what ended up being like the core spark that drove you to create your work now, which is Coronary?
Yeah, Watchmen for me was kind of the the foundation of the inspiration for this. It's this kind of deconstruction of different tropes within comic books, if that makes sense. Like, it's a comic book itself, but then it also kind of criticizes comics as well. Like Superman like doesn't care about anything. Like Batman is all like a little sad and lonely, and no one's like really friends with him because he's kind of strange and doesn't watch. Watch and you'll be alright. So it's that kind of exploration of different perspectives that I really like. And I tried to bring that into Coronary as well, because I had the initial idea of, advertising, people telling us how we should look and how we should feel is bad. Like, yep, that's a flat statement, but then it would be kind of boring if I just left it there. So I kind of explored different perspectives with the different characters. So you could kind of have this interrogation of the idea itself, if that makes sense. Like, is it there's all these kind of things. Like, is being in a happy family the answer? Like, is having a career the answer? Is not caring about any of it? Is that the way to go? Like, all these characters have a different perspective on what happened when plastic surgery became free, and they all just kind of butt up against each other, which is kind of cool.
Well, we see that a lot too. Not even just in advertising, but you turn on TV and you see all these different perspectives of like how you should lead your life, or how the perfect life looks. And so to read through, a piece like this is actually really cool, because it is really nice about getting those different perspectives and being on the outside looking in. And just looking at the bigger picture going, oh, wow. Yeah, this really does happen. Especially like you can really relate it into real life and go, oh yeah, people have all these different perceptions of what the even just the image of perfection is, right? And based on the culture and based on what's being pushed through marketing and everything else. And this, of course, clearly shows it, because, you even have scenes in here showing the advertising, or even social media, where it's showing the different social profiles, and everyone has, like this kind of perfect jawline, or this perfect this, or perfect that, perfect smile, and everything else. And it's really nice to see that, I think, especially as a reader, because then you can start, I think, maybe even looking at what's around you physically in your real life, and actually get a sense of like, oh yeah, people probably look at this a little bit different from what I do, and these different perceptions, and how much of that does that actually impact my life and my decision making, right? Because a lot of these things that get pushed out like through marketing is meant to influence what you buy, how you look, how you feel, and so forth.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying, because it's working on you even when you're aware that it's working on you, which is kind of sad. Oh no, that's stupid. I'm not gonna buy a motorbike and have a leather jacket and be all grizzled and individual, right? But then again, I'm like, oh, I kind of want to do that too. Don't stuck with me yet.
I ordered the leather jacket on Amazon. It's coming in the mail.
Those ideas definitely hang in your subconscious and come out in other ways that you may not even expect. That even when choosing, right, like a jacket, you might go for the leather jacket, and it might not even be a conscious decision even. Yeah,
it's kind of crazy how, I don't know, it almost feels like some decisions are made for us through all these images out here, like telling us like what the good life is, which kind of sucks. So I kind of want to like assert my own value in it, find my own happiness, rather than just be told what it is. That makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. It's like you want to explore and be able to come across it yourself, rather than someone just handing it to you and going, oh, this is what you're looking for. And you're going, I guess that's what I'm looking for.
I didn't even know I needed it. I mean, that's one of the first advertisements back in the day. I know in the U.S., Listerine used to be like a cleaning agent, a cleaning supply, basically. And they figured out there was some other product they could make out of it, and that was to make your breath smell fresh. So they designed all of these ads actually around that. And they started saying like, oh, do you know that your breath might not smell as fresh, or something like that, or they'd show, images of people walking by someone and being like, oh, I can't, my God, they smell so bad. And all of a sudden everyone was walking around being like, crap, do I need Listerine? What's going on? No one's talking to me. It must be my breath, right? So Advertising is nefarious.
Yeah, it kind of makes its own demand. It's just kind of, I don't know, terrifying because I don't want to spend my whole life worrying about Listerine. Get on with some other stuff.
Now, out of curiosity too, we're talking about ads and so forth, and sort of their influences on us. How much did ads and other marketing materials have an influence on what you wrote and what you decided to put into visually into this graphic novel?
Oh, I wanted to kind of give the idea that everything is very superficial and kind of out there. I just wanted to twist it up just a little bit more. So I wanted adverts to be plastered all over every in Coronary, just to make it adamantly clear that everything is covered in everything. It's like an invasion.
Ooh.
Every advertisement has to be this big, massive visual thing, and there's even frames where the ad almost takes up the majority of the frame as well. So it's okay, you're trying to push it out of the way.
It's interesting because it does seem like it even just kind of pushes itself at the reader as well, and I think that works really well because it becomes more immersive that way. As long as the people are actually really paying attention to what's actually happening in this world, I think they'll really get that coming through of just how it's right in your face.
Yeah, I wanted to. There's this big company in it called Butex who made the plastic surgery free, and they're kind of a lifestyle brand as well. And I wanted to kind of drop the logo in as much as I could, just to kind of give the idea that it's almost inescapable.
So Ryan, you mentioned that this company in Coronary offered plastic surgery for free. What is their angle? Because that seems pretty amazing. Because I know, living in LA, you drive past all these plastic surgery buildings, and there's all these billboards, and I know that ain't cheap.
No, that is not cheap at all. The whole idea behind it was going for this company making plastic surgery free, and then benefiting off all the kind of cultural side effects that come with that. They also sell pharmaceuticals and magazines and music videos and everything. I wanted them to be this kind of all-encompassing cultural powerhouse, if that makes sense. And that was the kind of spark that made everything else happen, essentially. And I had this really interesting idea that I'm kind of playing with recently. It was each of the covers of Coronary are beauty magazines. And we wanted that to kind of play into the themes of the comic itself. And then I was thinking, wouldn't it be really cool if the Coronary the magazine was in Coronary the comic?
Oh.
If I had it on the shelf or something, and people are like, "Whoa, what's going on? Where am I?"
Yeah, trying to blur those lines and try to get people questioning and actually thinking, which is so important.
So this is the future of Amazon, is what I'm hearing. The
Pretty much.
powerhouse.
Yeah, Amazon's kind of crazy too, to be fair. That's a whole other thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is mental. Having an Amazon Alexa, it's kind of having maybe I'm a little bit paranoid, but having a microphone in your home is kind of
Well, and it's funny too because you tell anyone, hey,
subject or as an object, actually or potentially.
Oh no, she heard you. She heard you.
Oh God.
They're listening in as we speak.
They're in your house.
They're listening right now. Yeah, anyway, about the invasion of privacy.
That was not planned, folks. Not planned.
But it's funny though too because you tell people, hey, we're gonna put a microphone in your house, and they go, hell no. But all of a sudden you go, but it'll get you groceries. Well, or I mean, there's additional perks, you add on around it and stuff like that. But yeah, you kind of, it's fair to kind of question that though and go, do I really want that? I don't know if that's a thing I should have.
Yeah, there's a new patent that just came out for the
She who shall not be
microphone
named.
Josephine.
Josephine, where Josephine can tell if you're sick or unhappy or something, and then recommend you medication and like cough syrup and stuff based on that. Like, that is terrifying.
Oh my god, I literally just got chills.
Yeah. It's like a little like HAL 9000 in my house, like telling me what to do. It's kind of creepy.
I can only imagine that the next step is you sneeze and all of a sudden you have a whole box of Robitussin at your doorstep.
Like instantly. Oh God, please.
Dropped to you by drone.
Yes.
Amazon Prime. So speaking of Coronary, the magazine cover, where does the name Coronary come from?
I don't know. Well, this is going to probably be a cop-out answer, but I was just kind of playing with ideas for the title, and I love one-word titles. They're just so simple because they say a lot and they also don't say a lot at the same time. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And the whole idea around Coronary is playing around with the idea of love and how that interacts with the world around us, how that interacts with like your job, your family, your self-image, things like that. And I thought coronary is a word around the heart. So I was like, that kind of works. I'll put that in. So that's how it's just kind of stuck from then on. People are like, oh wow, the title's cool. Like, what does it mean? I'm like, well, it's about this.
Oh, I like that. And it's also, evokes a medical, surgical sort of feeling, which, of course, that's what plastic surgery is all about.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, people have these great ideas with what's it about, and I'm like, I just pretend that I knew that the whole time. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that. I was like, note to self.
Well, that's what a good director does, right? Someone goes, oh, I love this thing. And of course, in your head, you go, well, that was an accident. But of course, to them, you say, yep, thank you. Yeah, we've been working on that for days. And, we were planning it out. Good worked out.
Yeah, glad you picked up on that. Thank you. That we hit that in there for you. Dude, with me, yeah. I love that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool.
Now, also, too, out of curiosity, so you've told us kind of about the source of the name and really what it's all about and your influences and so forth. But what was the influence then to drive it into more of a graphic novel form rather than another outlet, whether it be an actual full-fledged novel or game or what have you?
Oh, it was kind of half. It was kind of, I love both books and I love films like equally. So I'm like, I want to write a book that has like really interesting characters and like interesting plot and story and stuff, but I want these really cool like visual elements in there as well, like the whole noir style, like the detective, the deep shadows and stuff. So I was like, how do I like satisfy both of these needs, like make some cool shots and also have a cool story? And I was reading the comic books at the time. I was like, oh, cool, I'll just write a whole comic book about this. So my background is primarily with my creative writing degree, which is about novels themselves, like plot, setting, structure, narrative form, all of those kind of things that go into making a good book. I was like, thanks, I'll do that then. So I just kind of so I plotted out this whole 3-act structure. The basic idea for story is like something happens, you go to an unfamiliar place, you come back. It's Star Wars, it's Harry Potter, it's Narnia, it's everything essentially. Plotted the whole thing out, and then I kind of structured it along with the comic books, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So each one is kind of like a chapter. So the first act kind of begins in the first and second issues, and then it's been plotted all the way out for 12 issues, which is kind of like 35, maybe 40,000 words worth of material. So I pitched to some artists. I got Joel and Damien on board, which is really awesome. I'm grateful. They make it look so much better than I think it is in my head, which is cool. So we've been working on that, and then we pitched to some publishers. And so, yeah, this is really cool. But the scope of this thing is massive compared to like what you already have. So I had 5 pages worth, and then pitched them on this massive, huge arc. It was kind of like me pitching Lord of the Rings and showing them like a photo of the Shire. It's like, here's what it is. Like, all right, just looks like a field to me, but sure.
I mean, I'd be sold on Hobbiton. I mean, that place is dope. So.
Yeah. Their breakfast, second breakfast, lunch. I swear there's like so many more.
Second supper.
Second supper. Yeah, they just eat cake and laze around. Like, it sounds fantastic.
Right, that's really all you have to do to sell to an artist. Just be like, hey, look, all the characters, they eat cake and then they sleep, they nap most of the time. Sold. Yeah. All right, great.
I'm in. Let's do this. Yeah, it's really good. Enough to make 3-hour movies about, apparently, according to some. Not bitter about that at all.
So you mentioned that the artwork was done by Joel Saavedra and Damien Penalba, and hopefully I'm not butchering any of those names. What was your experience working with them on this project?
It was really nice. It was kind of a very like a free-form collaboration. So I initially, Joel approached me, and then we began to work together on the first 5 pages. So me and Joel did the picture of the Shire. And it was a really nice picture of the Shire. And then I started crowdfunding issues like 1, 2, and 3. And Joel was like, "This is wonderful. I'd happily do it for you, but I am one person doing everything, like penciling, inking, coloring, lettering, and it would just take like a year for me to do one of these." I was like, "That's not good. That's like a decade." That is far too long for anything. So he recommended one of his friends, Damien, who he works with really closely, to do more of the coloring aspect of it. And I was like, all right, cool. I've seen his work. It's really good. So that's us 3 at the moment. Is I do the writing, he does everything but the coloring, and then Damien just does the coloring itself. So we all just kind of collaborate, and it's really cool because we all have like slightly different perspectives of like how to approach it. So we kind of like bounce ideas off each other all the time, which is really cool. Because then it makes the work better. So it's really good. Like,
absolutely. I think it's always important when you're doing a creative endeavor to be able to have those people there that you can use as like a soundboard and vice versa. And you can start, because I think that's one of the best ways of really growing out a concept. It's so easy as, let's say, like the writer to think in one perspective, and all of a sudden you add in that other perspective and you go, oh, that's right, that's a good point too. Or, if you're thinking more about what's being said rather than what people are saying, having that artist come in and be like, well, visually, this is how we can tell that. That can do so much in the sense of adding so many layers and making just the story that much richer or that much deeper too.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of like practical aspects that I didn't really think of. Like a lot of conversations happen over the phone. So like one detective would get a message in that 2 people had called each other like remotely. I just wrote that out. All right, she gets a message. And then Joel was like, that's going to be like 4 frames of just phones. Like, that is not going to be fun at all. So he came up with like slightly better ideas of it working, like some kind of like pager or something like that, some kind of modern like Apple Watch style thing, which kind of makes things look a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more like future-y as well, which I kind of like. So we kind of like threw those ideas out there, and like we find something cool that's like reference, and like, how can we fit this in? This looks awesome. Like I took this idea from whatever book or movie that looks really nice. Like, how can we just like hammer this in? How can we find a place to just put this in because it's really cool? So yeah, we've kind of been. It's been an open collaboration for a while, which is really cool. So we can just chat and be like, I want to do this, and it's cool from that perspective because you find out what the artist wants to do, and then you kind of make the story kind of change around that a little bit more. So like, the first issue is mainly just in like an underground station itself. So there's tons of different shots of the underground, but we wanted to show more of the universe outside of that. So we want to do like outdoors, like what the cars look like, what the crowds look like, what a police station looks like inside, and all this, that, and the other. And it was cool that he wanted that perspective. I was like, all right, like certain scenes don't have to be underground. They don't have to be in a train or something. They can be out there in the open, and we can explore and flesh out this world a lot more, which is cool.
Yeah, no, out of curiosity too, because, you know, filmmakers have a big issue with trying to set up the world and to try to showcase the world while also introducing the characters and, you know, trying to hit on as many levels as possible, especially if they want it to be a series, right? You know, whether it's a trilogy or what have you, trying to set up those situations so that way people feel comfortable in the world. They feel like they're a part of the world. And so when something happens in that world, they feel a bigger impact from it. So, you know, with them having such a big issue, or even, you know, novelists, how do you try to take that on within the realm of a graphic novel?
Oh, I kind of lean quite heavily on the 2 pages after each issue. I feel like that's a really interesting place for me to kind of explore some different areas that are kind of beyond the scope of the comic side of things itself. So in the first issue, like lots of different things happen, but there wasn't really much establishing who Justin is personally. So in those like 2 pages after, I kind of wrote a mock like magazine interview within it of Justin himself. So it kind of added a ton more different characterization that I couldn't just say over a panel or a page, because that would be really boring. It's like, hi, I'm a business executive for 3 or 4 years. Plastic surgery fee, we mainly profit and blah, 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 blah.
Just show
like,
his Tinder profile. It's okay.
Yeah. There it is. So yeah, I wanted to kind of find interesting ways to expand the universe that's not so linear, and it isn't like a big like exposition dump, because those things drive me up the wall. When someone just has like, hi, and then they have that big paragraph about who they are, what the world is, and everything. I wanted it to kind of grow more naturally. If that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And for our audience now who are, you know, they're either watching or listening via podcast, you mentioned the name Justin. Now, could you describe who this individual is for them in case they haven't seen or read Coronary?
Yeah. So Justin is the CEO of this massive lifestyle / plastic surgery company that's kind of taken over and made everything kind of exaggerated, more extreme than it should be. I compare it to Black Mirror quite a lot. It's exaggerated that much more, and he's the kind of stereotypical like successful man, like big womanizing player. Like he is trying to live up to the dream that advertising shows him is the right way to go, and it's kind of getting diminishing returns in a sense that he's not really any more or less happy than he was at the beginning. So that's kind of the main character himself. And then you have Luna, and Luna is kind of the opposite of that. She's very like a punk protester, like fuck everything. Oh, my first swear word, nice. Fuck everything. And she is like the opposite of that. So I wanted to push those 2 kind of different poles together and see what would happen, essentially. So yeah, that's the 2 main characters behind Coronary.
Now, with the detective, is she meant to be more the audience, or do you have other plans in store for her character?
Ooh, I have a lot of other things in store. I kind of want to. I wanted to explore. I'm going to explore her character a little bit more as the episodes get a little later on, because we've mainly kind of established the first two at the moment, and I wanted to play around with her perspective on it a lot, because she kind of sees that Justin is the one that messed everything up, and then once you arrest him and put him in prison or whatever, like everything's going to go back to normal. And she's very she's very focused on that idea and doesn't really have anything beyond that idea. Like there's a scene right at the end of episode 2 where she has her like microwave meal, and it like serves one, and she's just a little, I don't know, she's very alone in her own like convictions of things, and that's another perspective on happiness that I kind of want to explore, whether having a career will make you happy versus having a perfect body versus living up to an image of this or an image of that. It makes sense.
Oh yeah, well, they say too, like it's so important to have goals and, you know, be set to your goals and push through to your goals, and so you can achieve them. And but it's like, but are those goals truly, one, realistic, but also two, is it really what you want? Is it really something that will benefit you in the way you think it will? And I think that's a huge thing to touch on too, especially in a story such as Coronary.
Yeah, because that's kind of, I don't know, I'm always a little critical of those kind of perspectives where it's like, oh, I'll just be a CEO, or I'll just be a manager of this and then I'll be happy. And then when they're a manager, they're like, all right, what do I do after this? Do I want a big award, or do I want a promotion or something? And it just like keeps going, it keeps going, keeps going. Like it's always, when you search for external validation from a job or a prestige or fame or whatever, it's always gonna come up short. And you kind of realize that the pushing and the striving for something that you want is almost as fulfilling as getting the thing you want at the end. It's like you guys play video games, like grind to get to the next level or to get this one thing is almost the satisfying part, and then once you get it, you're like, oh. Oh, this old thing, fine. And then you just like, keep going.
It's like the carrot keeps moving forward and forward.
Oh yes, the carrot always moves. Yeah, I'm kind of big into those kind of games. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna grind. When you get it, you're like, all right, then it'll be all right. I have like the best ship in Elite Dangerous or whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. Now I'm like, oh, now I've got to do something else. Like, this isn't quite as good as what I thought it was. And like the grind continues. But then I don't know. I feel like video games are very telling like that. Like I love more the experiences that I share with friends, much more than I share like the game itself. If that makes sense. Like a game could be terrible, but if I could play it with like 3 or 4 friends, then I'll love it simply because it's the people around you that you're having fun with. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, you're creating the memories and the moments, and that's really what keeps us going for those types of situations.
Yeah, exactly. Or like the idea of raids is so satisfying because you're like working as a team together and overcoming this big goal. And you realize that the goal isn't important. What's important is like being together, being a family. Oh. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, it really is much more about the path and the trip that it took to get to the end goal than it really is the goal. Because most people, too, when they talk about something they've experienced, they never really focus in on like, oh yeah, we got this thing and it was a great thing and this thing is awesome. No, what they tend to talk about is like, oh, well, Mike died like 5 times while doing this raid, dumbass. And like, you know, we're trying to do this and that, and all of a sudden this happened. Like people always seem to mostly remember and seem to have more appreciation for the process rather than the actual achievement overall. Every single time, it seems like every single person I talk to, if they, experienced a fantastic event, they remember all the parts of the event except for really like the main gem of why they did that in the first place, or why they went to said event, or what have you. It's about those stories that you create, rather than, okay, well, we create them, that's nice, but hey, we get this shiny thing, whatever that thing is.
Yeah. That's precisely the gist of it. It's kind of, I don't know. I've heard a lot of, to talk about games, I heard a lot of criticism about Fallout 76 at the moment, how it's like not a true Fallout game or stuff, but it's kind of, it's kind of built to be more of like a party style game where you kind of work with like 5 or 6 different people together on something, and I find that aspect of it really cool. Like, I don't really care about the plot or the narrative or the technical limitations or whatever. Like, the idea of like working together with people is just as satisfying to me, and to a lot of people, I'm sure.
But yeah,
Agreed.
And how much of, what do I want to say? Like, how much of how important is it for you that we see, or that we understand as an audience, how much of an impact each character has on one another, like that domino effect? Even if they're not in the same scene, there are times where someone is still getting impacted by another individual. So how important that is that to be showcased, especially in this world that you've created?
Yeah, I wanted to establish that everything is interconnected and no one can like fully escape from the consequences of whatever happened like before. So it kind of starts like after plastic surgery is free, after like culture goes crazy and stuff, and then it starts with the people that want to fix it versus the people that think it's fine. So I wanted to kind of give the idea that like the chase was always going, and the plot was always kind of marching forward. And there's always someone like one step behind about to get on it, because I love like fast pacey like literature and films. I like things that move.
Mm-hmm.
Like I kind of like that like Fury Road, the Mad Max Fury Road movie, which is awesome. Which is essentially one big glorified chase scene. I love it. I love it because it's like it keeps you going, because there's always like something that impacts the plot. And I always kind of ask myself when I'm writing a scene, like, how does this impact the whole arc of the story? And if it doesn't like give anything extra to the story, then I'll probably just cut it, because I want things to kind of keep marching. I want things to be entertaining. I feel that a lot of directors and writers and stuff like kind of neglect that a little bit. They're like, yeah, we'll just do something very like high level, very like cerebral, like, oh, let's think about society first. Like, no, let's have a good entertaining story first, then put that stuff on so that people will stay around for it, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, and I feel like that's one of the key differences between books and films.
Yeah.
In a book you can have 30 pages of exposition. You do that in a film, people are going to walk out.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just watched I'm a massive Blade Runner fan, and I just adore it. Like the new one was just like perfect. I was chatting to my friends about it, and they were like, nah, it sucked, there was no action in it. And I was like, it's not about that. But maybe there's something telling in that, like it has to be like entertaining first, and then beautiful and the best cinematic achievement of this generation. Whatever.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like you have to invoke the emotion of the reader or of the viewer and get them heightened in a way, or get their emotions heightened in a way before they'll really even pay attention to the actual core story. Some people really care about the story in the sense of what it makes them think, but other people, even just by their language, you can tell they think or process very much with their emotions first. those people
Yeah.
will say, well, I feel rather than I think, right? And so, there is a psychology behind that again, with some people, you just need to evoke a certain emotion before they actually become invested in comparison to just what's being said.
Yeah, I feel that as soon as any kind of media like neglects the emotional aspect of it, like the connection to the character, then everything just like falls flat on his face. Like, if the main character isn't likable, like I just don't care. Like, I feel like I've just like wasted my time entirely. But if you can like project and empathize with the main characters in it, then you can keep going and move forward with it. It's like the whole idea of like the hero with 1,000 faces. When you think of these big franchises and big films and stuff, like the main character is like as boring as a plank of wood. Like it's just like, it's I think it's like, I don't know, Great Gatsby or something. It's like, let's follow Nick Carraway around. He's a certified accountant. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna follow this guy around. But like, he's the kind of the surrogate for the audience to experience everything else. Like Frodo is kind of bad. I don't really like Frodo. Like Luke Skywalker probably isn't the most interesting person. Like no one likes. God, nearly forgot his name. Like no one likes Fred from Scooby-Doo. Like he's just too good. So no one has him as the favorite character. He's like, all right, we just hang the plot on him, and we just go. I feel it's always the outside characters that make things that much more interesting. But you kind of have to have that base for the audience to care. Because if people don't care, then what's the ultimate point in general?
Very true.
Yeah.
So, with the process and so forth, you're talking about that it can be very difficult to invoke that emotion, and that's one of the things you really need to garner is that emotion in order to get them to start processing and really thinking and questioning. But what would you say though, beyond that, and like working with an artist and trying to get your concept through? I mean, through all of that, what would be the hardest part about diving into your own graphic novel?
This is, I always talk about this, but the most basic thing, and it sounds really stupid, it's really important, is knowing which side of the page is left and which side is right. Like, it sounds stupid, but it's so important. Because like if you get the order wrong, then the pacing and the reveals behind it and the transitions that you use just everything just unravels. I've also chatted to other comic writers and like, yeah, remember left and right, which one's left, which one's right.
Wow, would have not thought that.
Yeah, it's like every page almost becomes a tiny cliffhanger for the next page. So you kind of have to make sure it like flows, and the reader kind of forgets it's a comic book, and they just kind of get like thrown flew in the story, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like it's the equivalent of like having bad audio or something in a film. You're like, oh no, never again. Just instantly throw it out. Like it's got to pay attention to the form that it's in. And then in a physical thing, as you turn over it, you can hide like narrative beats and scene changes and things within that, and like set up scenes and do surprises and stuff. Like there's an explosion in there. Not sure if that's a spoiler. There's an explosion. Most things are going to have explosions in them, but mine does, and you have to hide that within a page flip. It sounds super basic, sounds kind of stupid, but it's like legitimately important. And I feel that some modern comics kind of neglect this because they have advertisements in them. So advertisements can just like randomly just get slapped in and just like ruin the pace entirely. So like, all right, yeah, oh wow, Mars bar, wow, thanks. And then that kind of ruins the reveal because then the order goes wrong. Yeah, order's a massive part of it. Like, it's a big deal.
Well, that makes sense. It's like books when they have cliffhangers at the end of the chapter because you want people to get to the next chapter and keep reading. And so by ending it at a really like just almost in a way awkward moment where it's just like it's so incomplete, I need to complete it, I need to get the full picture, you keep reading.
Exactly. And that's kind of one of the fundamental building blocks of the form itself that a lot of people kind of neglect. Another thing that's really helpful is just having a collaborative environment with the artist where you're not I try not to get too precious about the script itself and be like, this has to happen here, this person has to have like blah 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 blah. It's better to allow the artist to kind of explore things on his own and come up with his own ideas, because it's the exchange of ideas that makes good art most of the time. Because you think of your favorite TV show or movie or something, it's like everyone from like the set designer to the actors to the director to the cinematographer, like they all understand it and offer their own new perspective on it, and all those perspectives together make something great. And you hear about movies or comics that don't. And you hear about movies or comics that are restrained by their studio or something, or they're told not to do this or not to take a risk on X, Y, and Z, and it just becomes like the next Die Hard 7, Terminator 5, or whatever.
Sharknado 6.
Yeah, well,
there's a few of those.
Yeah, exactly. And you kind of get divorced from the what made the initial concept kind of really cool. Like I was thinking a lot about Pirates of the Caribbean and how kind of big and how like mind-blowing that was as a concept when it initially came out. Like, wow, like some kind of washed up rock star Keith Richards type is fighting zombie pirates. Like, that sounds amazing. Like, that's incredible. And it just kind of became like more predictable as it went along. But having that kind of that spark and taking risks on new ventures is what makes it pop and makes it cool and unique.
During your collaboration with Joel, have you found yourself like significantly changing either parts of your story or maybe the direction of your future issues at all?
Yeah, I'd say so. There's been almost entire scenes that have just been dropped or changed because they're not really relevant. Like, for instance, there's a scene I wanted to do where this character went to Berlin to make it all like mysterious and international. Meets someone in a Berlin bar and picks something up and then comes back. And then Joel was like, yeah, no, we really don't need that.
Veto.
I was like, no. I was like, that's a good point. Like, you got me there. It doesn't need to be in Berlin. We could just put it where it is.
You're like, a novella next time. It's a little like side comic later.
Yeah, do a little side. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. And some basic things like making the characters more able to be different from each other, and things like, will it be nighttime by the time they get out? Like, how long have they been in this place? Like, has he grown stubble by this point? Like, just all these little things that you forget to think about. You know, oh yeah, all right. He was carrying an umbrella in the scene. He has to continue carrying his umbrella for the rest, or whatever. Like, his watch was on his left hand, and it has to stay on his left hand. There's like little details that kind of have to be conformed to the whole way through. If you have a continuity error, then that's a whole other thing.
That's absolutely true. Well, it's just like films too, hearing that, it's like, yeah, do you have the watch on your left wrist or on your right wrist? Did you carry this in with your left hand, your right hand? Were you wearing a hat? Were you not wearing a hat? And if anything is gone, there's always going to be that one person, of course, that will see it, and then they'll put it on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. They'll share it with their family. Their family then shares it out, and everyone's talking about it.
And everyone's like, God, this sucks.
Yeah, if it wasn't for that hat, if it wasn't for that one hat or that one watch, everything would have been fine.
Everything would have been fine, but nope, it's just the hat and the watch. And even things like having characters to be like having different silhouettes, like different clothes or different colors or different builds. Like that is something that's so fundamental to establishing different characters. So the two characters look the same. That's wow. Each character has to be recognizable for their like one or two things that they have. If that makes sense. Like I feel a lot. I feel it's kind of similar to like the concept of Baby Driver. I love Baby Driver. One of my favorite films ever. I'm just gonna keep talking about films.
You have a great audience here for that. No worries.
Oh, good. Yeah. Each of the characters had their own color scheme and individual perspective, even though they're all like people in their late 30s, whatever. But they all had their own like thing that made them different, even though they were kind of functionally doing the same thing. Plot-wise, having them all as distinct characters with different, distinct voices helped establish them all as individual characters.
Yeah, and I feel like too, like if you're going to make them the same, or characters very, very similar, there should really ideally be a real purpose behind it as well. If you're trying to showcase something, maybe like how these two people aren't really as different as they think they may be, or something like that. There's got to be some kind of symbolism or story behind it. Otherwise, yeah, it just comes off as kind of plain. No one really cares, and people are trying to figure out what the difference between the two people are, even at times. You start getting people to think outside of the story, but not in the way you want them to.
Yeah, exactly. And like costuming is such a huge part of it as well. Is trying to establish character through what they have. Like that kind of goes around to being in comics again. Is how do you make it? How do you give them enough shorthand for people to know about the character itself without them saying anything, or just in how they look? Like Luna has like a hoodie, lots of like badges and pins and like piercings and stuff, but she's very kind of, you can tell a lot about the character before she even speaks. And it's the same thing with Justin. He's very like cookie cutter at the beginning. He's very like polished in a suit and everything, and business cards and all that. And then as those perspective changes, I wanted the costume to change as well. Like eventually ditches his suit, like gets a little bit of stubble, gets a little bit gritty, like things. Like you can use costumes to represent a change in the character.
Mm-hmm.
Like think of like Han Solo in Star Wars, where he has like a white shirt and then like a black overall vest, waistcoat, whatever the thing is he has,
right.
built up. And then that eventually changes into him wearing more white clothes as it kind of the series goes on, and you see like Luke become wearing like pale beige and stuff, and slowly wearing darker clothes as he turns to the dark side. Like little subtle things like that help establish character and show change and growth. It's cool.
Right, especially with films, graphic novels, the visual element is huge, right? So you definitely have to find ways to showcase that for sure. Yeah,
it's like I love talking about Star Wars. It's like the whole how do we make sure the Empire are evil? Like, no, let's have them all grey uniforms with big red flags and stuff. I think people will get the message.
Darth Maul, face tattoos or nah?
He has horns. Is he a good guy? Yeah, I feel that shorthand is important for the audience as well to understand more about the character.
Yeah, there is so much that it's amazing actually how much we judge and build up our perceptions when it comes to just the visual. We look at something and automatically assume, okay, this is this, because our brains always try to fill in and try to understand things, even if it doesn't, which is called folk psychology, where they try to just give it like as much of a broad stroke of a description as possible, just so that way they go, okay, now I understand it, even if they really don't. And it's fascinating how much of an impact that visual can truly have.
Yeah, it's interesting how much information you can show with visuals like so quickly, because people can see before they can even listen. As soon as you see everything in front of you, you can just take in all that information ridiculously quickly. So that's kind of why films are so great in that way, because you can get you get engrossed in a background and a setting so quickly. Makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And of course, you have a shorter amount of time to do so too, because you're working with the graphic novel rather than, for instance, a film where you can have like an hour and a half to kind of spread out your visuals. Whereas with a graphic novel, you don't have that luxury.
Yeah. Every image has to be purposeful. Everything has to service the story or the setting in some way. So I'm always kind of focused on that on the back of my mind to make sure that nothing is wasted, because I have a limited amount of pages I have to deal with. So I want to make sure everything is relevant.
Well, and you've discussed like the creative process, looking at the visual, looking at how to tell the story, what you want the reader, the audience to feel in many respects, and what the influences were. So, let us know a little bit too of like, what was your process to let people know, or to let them know that this exists, right? That this piece of work exists. 'Cause as you said too, if people don't emotionally connect with it, it doesn't make sense. But also if people don't read it, if people don't look at it, it doesn't make sense to do, right? So what has kind of been your marketing process, especially for other creators that might be out watching this right now or listening to it? What has been kind of your process to, basically ring people's doorbells in a way and be like, hey, I'm alive and I have this piece of work and this is why you should check it out?
Nice. I basically tried to build a following through. built a following through Twitter and Facebook and Instagram to kind of. They're very visual medium, so I can show a lot of the work that I'm working on, and then I can also pitch based on that. And I had a couple of Kickstarter campaigns where you kind of practice pitching to everyone. Like, it's kind of like, this is my comic, and then you kind of boil it down into like the smallest tagline you can. Like, this is X meet Y. This is what happened if this happened, just to kind of get an emotional reaction. Because then once the audience or the reader cares, then you can pitch them on the rest of it. It's what we were talking about before. Like, you have to care first before you do anything else, before you even establish any of the rest of it. So the main thing is just having a log line that's as short and as to the point as possible. It's got to be economical. Like, I feel that the line of Brave New World meets James Bond, like, it's 7 or 8 words, and then you just doosh, and that will tell you so much about the world itself and what's going on within it. You kind of have to. It's the same thing as like you trying to convey as much as information as possible with as few words as possible, and it's really hard. It's proper tough to do, but I feel that once creators have that down, then it's that much easier for everything else that goes forward. Like, once you boil it down into like the bones of the concept, then you can put in all this extra stuff.
Once you give your elevator pitch.
Oh yes, exactly. Yeah, you've got to give the elevator pitch, and you've got to say what the idea is, like why it's interesting, and like why you should care about it. That's the elevator pitch in a nutshell. And then you can build on all the extra stuff you want to talk about later. Like, how we love each other, how that relates to all this big, like, heady, cerebral stuff. Like, what is the point of what's the point of going for a goal if you want the next goal, and what is the value in that? Like, how do I value myself? How does society value me? How do I interact with advertising? It's all very well to talk about, but like, I can't cover that in 30 seconds. That makes sense. It's too big. I just want to be like, plastic surgery is free. What would happen? Go.
Get people thinking, get people initially invested. Because like we've been saying, if you don't have that, people won't care. Time is very much an investment to many people, especially as we add more and more stuff to our schedules and to what we interact with on the daily. We have actually, ironically enough, less and less time, even with all these things that are supposed to help us coordinate to get more time and be more efficient. And so ironically, it makes us all of a sudden too busy. And so it's like, well, how do I grab this person who's quickly skimming through their news feed or, quickly skimming through their page here? how do I get them to actually look and really look, not just skim?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that
That is-
definitely is what got my attention at you were at Long Beach Comic-Con, and that was the tagline that I heard. Oh, plastic surgery is free. I was like, ooh, I'm intrigued. Okay, I want to learn more.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of, it's strange because creative people are always kind of in the creative mindset, and they never really branch out into how you'd sell it or you market it to someone, and that's almost just as important as the thing itself. It's like making sure that other people can receive it and they're interested in it. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
A lot of people kind of stay engrossed in the idea or in the novel or in the book. And people are like, oh, people will just like it because it's good. It's like that. It's like there's so much good stuff out there. Like you've got to really like hone it and direct it.
So you mentioned that you are basically planning 12 issues of Coronary. Have you thought about what's next in store for you after that? Are you maybe planning on, did you catch the graphic novel bug? Will you write more? Will you maybe think about additional volumes of Coronary?
Well, I'm definitely playing with the idea of writing some more and messing around with the setting and the theme. I'm kind of tempted to do another 12-issue arc, but based on I don't know, violence or war or some different theme. This one is very much about love and society. I wanted to kind of throw it in a different direction, interrogate another different set of themes. We'll definitely see how it goes. I'm always kind of thinking of something new to add to it or something. I don't know, but it's a slow process. It's kind of hard to constantly be thinking of what's next and what's going to be coming up. But it's exciting nonetheless. It's cool to have the next 3 or 4 years worth of scripts already finished, but then nothing is fully finished.
Just
So
remember
there's
about the
always-
left and the right.
Yes, the left and the oh yeah, that's gonna be 2 years from now. I'm like, told me to remember the left and the right, and I forgot. Everything's ruined. Yeah, it's there's always revisions. There's always messing around with things, trying new scenes, messing around with old ones, playing with the characters a lot. There's a ton of stuff that goes into it, so I'm always kind of working on my toes with that kind of thing. It's cool.
Awesome. We love hearing about the behind the scenes from creators, especially we both read your first 2 issues, and we're really excited to see where you're taking the story, and we're there for the ride for sure.
Yeah, that's something right. Yay! I remember my lefts and rights. That's
And for our viewers and listeners, you can find out more information about Ryan Burke actually on Instagram and Twitter. He's at Ryan Burke Writer, and all about Coronary on Facebook at Coronary Comic. And don't worry, we will have all the pertinent links for you in our description. Ryan, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
yes. Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you, viewers and listeners, for tuning in to a special episode of Mind TV with Evan and Tatiana. If you're listening to us on iTunes, Podbean, or another podcast aggregator, you can actually view this special episode right on our YouTube channel at Mind TV. And of course, you are all welcome to tune in live every week on Twitch. We're at twitch.tv/MindTV, and you can actually talk to us directly. So until next time, have a great rest of your week.